Okay, so are you one of those people that are always guarding against making a mistake? I understand. We don't want to make mistakes that cause us unnecessary problems, strife, and issues that we don't necessarily have to deal with. But at the same time, we do want to run toward mistakes because what it allows for us to do as entrepreneurs, as freight brokers, is to learn from those mistakes. You see, if you don't put yourself in positions where you're a little uncertain, where you're a little bit uncomfortable, then you can't really go inside yourself and get the most out of you to overcome issues that you're having. You have to be willing to put yourself in a position where you're okay with making mistakes, because it allows for you to learn so much from the mistake. What that is going to do is allow for you to put yourself in a position where you're going to learn from the mistake and then make adjustments so that you don't repeat those mistakes. That's why it's so important that we start to put ourselves in position to make mistakes. Today, I'm going to talk about the one mistake that you must be willing to make in order to win as a freight broker. Stay tuned. So before we get started, I want to give you a quick read-in as to what the channel is all about. This channel shares the challenges and successes of small business ownership through my eyes as a freight broker. If you're interested in learning more about the freight broker business, or maybe you're considering another small business, but you want to know what it's like to be a 24/7 entrepreneur, then you're in the right place. What I would like for you to do is just to remember to subscribe. If you forget this time, make sure you come back at a later time and subscribe to the channel. If you like the content, what it'll do is help me out a whole lot. I have a really big goal this year. I am trying to reach 100,000 subscribers, and I need your help to do so. There's no way that I can do it without you. So I would certainly appreciate your support. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So as freight brokers, you and I should be running toward, unafraid to make the mistake of pricing. And when I say pricing, what I mean by that is, as a freight broker, I'm responsible to shippers to provide pricing in particular lanes. They're going to send over an email or give me a phone call, and they're going to ask for a rate in that lane. What I do at that point is I start to do my due diligence in that lane. I'm going to take a look at the lane, the truck capacity in that lane, the weight of the product that I'm shipping, the actual product and what is it, what the temperature is going to be on that product, what the fuel surcharge is in that particular lane. I'm going to take a look at a lot of different information, and then I'm going to come back with a price to my shipper. Now, sometimes that price is not going to work. That price is going to be too high sometimes, and the shipper is going to come back and say, hey, you know what? It's not going to work. I'm not going to be able to work with you on that particular lane. The pricing doesn't work. And then sometimes you may give a price that's too low, and the shipper will come back and say, hey, it's all yours. If you send a shipper an email and they respond very quickly and send you that information back and say, hey, it's all yours, we'll send over a tender here shortly, 9 times out of 10, you've priced that load way too low. And when that happens, you have to make a decision. Okay, I've priced that load too low. Either I'm going to eat the cost, or I'm going to tell the shipper that the load was priced too low and I'm going to have to change the price. You'll have to decide how you deal with that, and we'll talk more about that when I show you an example of pricing a load too low. But for right now, what you want to focus on is getting the opportunities to price the loads. Don't be afraid to provide pricing. A lot of times when we first get started, we are afraid, we're nervous to give pricing in lanes because we don't want to be wrong. We don't want to make mistakes. But those are actual mistakes that we should be running to make, because in order for you to start working with that shipper on a consistent basis, you have to start providing pricing, and not only pricing, but pricing that's going to eventually work. When you first get started, a lot of your prices are not going to work. I've priced hundreds and hundreds of loads that didn't work, and that is okay. But the key is to get the opportunities. And as you get the opportunities, you're going to get better at pricing. You're going to become more proficient when it comes to pricing. Your shippers are going to see some of your pricing, and they're going to say, hey, that's a great price. I'll go ahead and send you over a tender. Now, here's what we also need to understand. Sometimes you're going to win, sometimes you're going to break even, and sometimes you're going to lose on loads. The whole idea is to win a whole lot more than you're breaking even, to win a whole lot more than you're losing. And that will happen when you get an understanding of how to price loads. How do you get an understanding of how to price loads? You have to do it. You got to do it over and over and over again, so that you can become better and better at pricing. You're going to get more comfortable with it. You'll get more certain about your pricing. But when it all boils down to it, don't take shortcuts. Don't just look at a lane and say, oh, that's 1,500 miles. I'm going to give you the $2 mile deal and I'll be able to get that load moved. Because that's not always the case. As a matter of fact, most times, more times than not, the $2 mile rule is not going to work. I'm going to show you an example of that. Okay? So now, here is a load. This is the load that we moved about 4 years ago. And we moved this load, and it's a 1 pick and 5 drop loads. As a matter of fact, it's 1 pick and 1 drop, and then it's 4 additional drops. So we just call it 1 pick, 5 drops. We charge for everything after the first drop. I'm going to have a fee that is calculated into my rate for every drop after the first drop. So when I looked at this load, being a rookie, not understanding load pricing, and also being in a hurry and being overconfident. I've moved some loads now with this shipper and I'm a little bit overconfident. So when I see this load, I jump on it. I say, oh, okay, I'm going to shoot a load back really quickly or shoot a price back really quickly. And I shot back $3,000 for this load. So this is a 1 pick, 5 drop load. And here are the drops. First drop is Abingdon, Virginia. Second drop is Fredericksburg, Virginia. Third drop is Holtsville, New York. Fourth drop is Baldwinsville, New York. And the fifth drop is Austinburg, Ohio. Now, as a rookie, I didn't understand what going on the Big Island was in New York. And that's where this load had to go, to the Big Island. And when I just gave that price, I gave it off of, hey, I'm going to move it at $2 a mile. And this was about 1,500 miles, so we can do it at $3,000. Okay? Now, the shipper jumped on that. They sent out a tender very quickly and say, hey, that load is yours. So when we start pricing this load and we put it out on the load board, we start getting pricing of $4,000, $5,000 to get that load moved. So I'm thinking in my mind, okay, well, it's just a matter of time. I'll just keep working it and I'll get it moved at $3,000. That didn't work. Nobody was biting on $3,000 for that load. And even if I moved at $3,000, I'm still going to lose on that load because I only got $3,000 in it. So now I have a decision to make. I have to decide, hey, am I going to eat the cost, the difference of what it's going to cost me to move this load? Or am I going to call the shipper and say, you know what? I priced the load too low. We cannot get it moved for that price. We're going to have to up the price to $4,500. I decided to go with the first choice. I didn't want to send the load back to the shipper because I hadn't been working with the shipper for that long. And I didn't want to show incompetence by sending the load back after I had already agreed to a price and then turning around and saying, oh, I can't get it moved for that price. I wanted to show that I could give a price and stand by that price. So we did that. And because of that, we got a whole lot more loads. We continue to work with that shipper even to this day. So when you give a price in a lane, it's just my opinion. Some people will change their prices. But for me, when I give a price, I stand by that price because I don't like for somebody to give me a price and then change the price on me. That's a part of good customer service, in my opinion. That's a part of competence, knowing what it is that you're doing and honoring the prices that you've given. That's what I wanted to do. So we decided to go ahead and get this load moved for $4,500, but we only had $3,000 in it. So you got to be unafraid to make a mistake when it comes down to pricing. If you price it too low, that's okay. Either you stand by it or call them back and tell them you can't move it. I suggest standing by it. Now, you don't want to take a $1,500 loss, definitely. So you want to get closer to the price than that. But eventually, you're going to start to get to a pattern where you're consistent. You're good at providing consistent pricing in those lanes. But it's going to take some time. Don't get frustrated. Don't get in a situation where you start to get overwhelmed and just feel like, it's too much and you can't do it. Because if you get in that point, you're never going to move loads. You got to get to the point where you're comfortable. And how you get to the point where you're comfortable with providing prices in lanes is you have to do it and do it often. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. Certainly hope that this information has been helpful. Whatever you do, don't be afraid to provide pricing in lanes. And if you are afraid, get over that fear. How you get over that fear is by continuing to price those lanes over and over and over again, and you'll get better at doing it. So if you're interested in learning more about the freight broker business, or right now maybe you're just a little bit curious and want some more free information, that's cool. Go over to my website at www.brandonthefreightbroker.com. Wait for the pop-up to appear. Then register for my 5-video series titled How the Load Movement Process Works. You'll get the unique opportunity of watching over my shoulder as I set up loads to be moved, show you all of the paperwork that's involved with moving a load from point A to point B. You'll even get to hear me talk to shippers and carriers and then execute the load movement and get paid. You see, there are a lot of people that are talking the talk about how freight brokers move loads and make money. But there's one guy that's showing you how it's done. That's me. One last thing that I'll share before I leave. I heard someone say once, if you do what's hard in life, life will be easy. And if you do what's easy in life, life will be hard. I found that statement to be true in my own life. Take a look at your life. Look at the times that you've chosen to do the hard thing and the result that you've gotten. And then look at the times you've chosen to do that easy thing and compare those results. See you at the top, because the bottom is much too crowded.